All right, sorry about that. So apparently we are going to do a second video on this. So the next thing we're getting into is a rectangle. Okay, so a rectangle has all four right angles. So all four angles are going to be right angles. They're all congruent. And then the diagonals are congruent. Not only do they bisect each other, but they are also congruent. Okay, so when we are looking at this first example, we are going to find EC. But in order to do that, we're going to have to do a couple things first. All right, so we know that this right here is a 90-degree angle. So we actually have a right triangle right here. So we can find this diagonal, which remember is the same or is congruent to the other diagonal. Okay, so first we're going to find this diagonal, which is our hypotenuse, because our right angle is pointing towards it. So we have 80 squared plus 192 squared is going to equal our C squared. All right, so 80 squared, that's going to be 6,400. $192 squared, ooh, this is a big one. 36,864 equal to C squared. All right, so add those two together, we get 43,264. And then we are going to square root it in order to get that hypotenuse. So we get that C is 208 meters. Okay, so this whole diagonal is 208 meters. So DB is 208 meters. Well, we also know that AC is going to be 208 meters because diagonals in a rectangle are congruent to one another. And if we look, EC is equal to half of AC, which is 1/2 of 208. So EC is going to equal 104 meters. All right, and looks like that is our only example for rectangles, which means we are on to squares, and we've only got two here. Okay, so a square is both a rhombus and a rectangle, okay? It's one of those weird things. A rhombus is not always a square, but a square is always a rhombus. And a rectangle is not always a square, but a square is always a rectangle. Okay, so that means that if I have a square, all of my angles are right angles. My diagonals are congruent to one another. They bisect these opposite angles. And they are perpendicular to one another. Okay, there's a lot of information that we can learn about squares. So in this example, it says if WY plus XZ is 92, find each. Well, we know that WY and XZ are going to be equal to one another. They're the same thing. So we've got X plus X equals 92. 2X equals 92. So we know that each of those pieces is going to be 46. So WY is equal to 46 and XZ is equal to 46. All right, so the next piece says to find the area of triangle WPZ. So WPZ is this triangle right here. All right, now if we are looking, we see the big triangle right here of WZY. And we know that this hypotenuse right here, it is a hypotenuse because we know this is a right triangle. This hypotenuse right here we know is 46. And we can actually find this piece right here, PZ, which would be the height of the triangle, because that's half of that diagonal. Okay, so PZ is going to be 23. because it's half of it. In order to find the area of a triangle, it's 1/2 your base times your height. So we have that the area of the big triangle right here, WZY, so the area of triangle WZY is equal to 1/2 of our base of 46 times 23. All right, so we have 46 times 23, and we're going to take half of that. So this is 529, and if you notice, half of that is going to be triangle WPZ. So triangle WPZ is equal to 1/2 the area of triangle WZY. So we can do 1/2 of 529, and we get 264.5 units squared. We don't know exactly what units they are, but it is units, it is units squared because area is always squared. All right, so you do have an assignment over this on Pearson if you have any questions.